Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Happy Cells and Souls. My name is Julie Powers and I am a licensed Zumba instructor and a partner with the Juice Plus company. I like to teach people that life is better when they're dancing through it, and I want to inspire healthy living around the world. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level. And I believe that we are given one body, and it's our responsibility to take care of it as best we can while we're here on earth, and that we are meant to be happy and joyful. And part of us should be shining light and joy and happiness into the world. So that brings us to these conversations on this YouTube channel. And I feel very honored and privileged that I've met some incredibly amazing and remarkable people throughout my life. And I want to be able to learn from all of them. And to me, it doesn't matter what your political beliefs are, your religious beliefs, your cultural background. And none of this really matters because every single person has something to share and we can learn from every single one of them. And so I want us to learn today from my friend, Shauna. Now, Shauna is this incredibly beautiful, sleek, gorgeous woman who I am working with on a book. She's one of the co-authors of this book. And so we're in a sisterhood together. And I just had the opportunity to meet her in person, face to face, and got to wrap my arms around her before the 6-foot rule of separation. About 6 weeks ago, before the world stopped. And Shauna was sharing with me that she has some amazing gifts that she has been able to cultivate throughout her life. And she's a yoga instructor, and she uses her gifts for life coaching and from communication and teaching people how to communicate. And so I'd love for you to sit back and listen to what Shauna has to say, because she's going to share with us a few really important action step nuggets that she teaches in her communication classes. But Shauna, I would love for you to just give us your background and tell us what you do, who you are, and how these really special gifts have been able to impact others in your life.
Oh my gosh, that was so cool to listen to. Well, first of all, I want to say, because I was listening to you and it made me think of how, I really believe we create lives we deeply love by connecting deeply with our lives. And when I say connection, I really mean relationally. And that's a lot of where my work comes in, connecting to the body, which has come from really teaching yoga and practicing yoga for such a long time. I started teaching when I was 23. So about 20 years ago, and I started practicing when I was 20. And so that's really where I began to develop this deep connection with my body and really being able to listen to my body, which has, as you know, has so much wisdom, So, and then then it became about watching the mind and a lot of meditation. And so my practice began to start to read my own energy, read other people's energy. And I was always doing that because we always all are ever since I was young, but then I started to really understand it. And then that led me to life coaching, which I started to do about 6 years ago or so, a little bit longer.
But before you did that, you were an engineer, right?
Yes.
So
And along within
woo, yeah, you went right side, left side. You got both going on.
yes. I was just reading about left side, right side the other night in a new book I'm reading. But anyways, so engineering was another thing that was weaved in all of that. And that really began when I was in college, because I was really good at math, and I didn't want to be a math major because I felt like I didn't really want to be a teacher, and now I'm a teacher, which is kind of funny. But I wanted to be more practical and be able to utilize it if I wanted to. And so I did mechanical engineering. And then I was an engineer for a long time. So as I was teaching yoga, I was doing engineering. And then I ended up quitting engineering when I could, because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So yeah, there's an analytical side to the way that I do things as well. Process, I like processes, and I really like technology and building websites and doing that kind of stuff. So the back end of my business is actually really fun for me too. Um, so yeah, so then within coaching, people would ask me a lot about communication, a lot about how to talk to other people, how to talk to their partners, how to talk to their kids. Sometimes people ask me, even now I get it a lot, is I want to write this letter to so and so, could you help me, word it in a way that really translates what I'm trying to say. I think that's what's most important. It's not about how I would necessarily communicate. It's how the person wants to, what wants to come through them, what's in alignment with them, and how do we match that. And so so that's sort of, my entire journey. I still teach yoga, and I'm a life coach as well.
And I know that when the world is normal and we can see people in person, you do like yoga in the trees and you have classes with people there, but you do yoga things online as well. And you have these courses for the communication called Sacred Communication. And I understand that you're in the middle of a course right now. And what I'd like to find out is, I know that you have the clairs. And for those who have never heard of this before, but there's, a lot of people have heard of clairvoyance, where people can see things, right, that other people can't. But you have something called clairaudience, where you can hear things that other people can't hear. Claircognizance, or clairknowing, that you just know things that other people don't necessarily know, or they don't know how to tap into that. And then the clairempathy, where you can feel things. And so that has these special gifts, and I call them special gifts. And I really think that the more I learn about what I don't know, is that we probably all have these special gifts that we just don't know about how to use them, because our intuition is not as fine-tuned. Or like me, I've spent a lifetime of blocking a lot of things out. So, feelings and all of those things. So it's been a real change to open up my mind and my heart to understanding how people can do this. And so I find it fascinating. And I'd love for you to tell us, what is that like for you? And then how does that translate into helping others be able to communicate and, sort of go through life in a better way?
Yeah. So one of the things about communication, about your voice, is it's a translation of your being. So it's like a transmission of who you are. Each of us is a different, unique human being, and how we speak, what we speak, is that transmission of that. So, and with that, there's an energy, like I like to say, it's an energy behind the words. And when our voice is in alignment with who we are, people listen, because you can feel that. So the way in which I am, when people are talking to me and I'm listening, the energy that I feel is through emotion. And I tap here because it's the chakra, the heart chakra is where we relate to one another emotionally. So it is that kind of center place. And then I also knowing, which is at the top, at the chakra at the top, that's another clair that I have. And then audio, which is probably not the one that's as refined as those other two. Then there's all the other ones that you're talking about, which we all have ones that sort of we kind of tap into more, or are more easier for us. And then some of them are more difficult. Like I can tap into clairvoyance, but it's harder for me. And sometimes actually when other people are, clairvoyant and they're seeing a bunch of images, I'm like, I want to do that, but really that's not my gift. It's not as refined. And so sometimes it happens, but not that often. So what it feels like is when someone's speaking to me, I can feel what they feel through their words. And so if they're telling me a story about some experience that they had, let's say with somebody in their life, let's say their partner, I can feel their emotion in it and the other person's emotion in it and what's happening emotionally between them just by listening to their words of the story. And really all I'm doing, it almost feels like I'm in there, like they're telling me the story and then I'm in there and I'm like observing and experiencing as though they were sitting next to me and I was observing emotionally what was happening between two people.
Fascinating. So tell me this, that makes me think so many times I feel like when I'm in the middle of a conversation with someone, oh, let's say my husband,
Mhm.
and there's two perspectives all the time.
Mhm.
And I've written a story about what he's going to say before he says it. So I perceive it completely in my mind, how I think it's going to come out. And then he writes a story about what I'm going to say. And he hears things in his way that we both might feel very defensive about because we're going on past behavior or past conversations, but not necessarily what's really real. So when you're feeling that conversation, do you feel what's real? Or do you feel the perception of what was happening in that sense? Am I making any sense at all?
Totally. It's a really good question. It's a really good question. I think I can feel both. I think both I can feel. But what's most important for the person that I'm speaking to is that I can honor what they feel and their story and their belief, and I can honor the other person's story and belief as well, because I'm separate from that intertwining that you're
Right,
talking about. So I can take the perspective broader and I can let people know, but this is how your husband is feeling. And when we can tap into how people we love are actually feeling, we have much more compassion and empathy for the other person. And so we don't have as much judgment. And so there's just a lot more clarity within the experience that we're having.
right, right. Wow, that's really cool. So whenever you're working with people on a corporate level, because I know that you have a lot of corporate clients who
Yeah.
are trying to learn how to talk with their coworkers, with
Yeah.
subordinates, with, is that what more of this sacred communication is about on your class side, or is it more of a personal level?
It's really both. It is personal. It all interrelates. Like we can't work on communication in one place. It really works across the board, and it depends on what's most important, what's in front of you. So I do work with a lot of corporate people, and I work with a lot of managers, and talking and communicating with their team is a big thing. I work with salespeople who are communicating with their managers and their teams. But ultimately, what I see is that it's all interconnected. So, how we talk to the people we work with is the same way that we communicate with the people at home. It's just all interconnected. So it doesn't really matter how you come in or what you think you want to learn. You're going to learn across the board with your friends, your coworkers, your family members, your kids, all of it.
That's great. So I know a lot of people out there are probably thinking, "Oh, this is out there, Claire audience, Claire, whatever." They're like, "No, no, no, I don't understand." But what I want people to really think about is this whole reading the energies between people. And we know that when we walk into a room and it's a happy occasion, you feel that when you walk in the room. But if you walk into a room expecting it to be a happy occasion, but something bad has just happened, or there was just an argument, or there's tension in the room, you feel it. You feel that, and you know it. And just like when you're talking with someone and you can see the happiness in their eyes, you know it's real. But if they're saying one thing and their eyes are just, something's off, and you're like, but are you really okay? I mean, you can feel that. And so this isn't like far out there stuff. This is for real. This is the way that life works. This is how people work. So you were going to take us through a few steps and what somebody might find in your courses in a very tiny portion of it, because
Yeah.
I'm sure it's very, you know, very expanded and there's a lot to it. So if you could just take us through a few things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I want to say, like, I think sometimes there's people that, like, if we look at clairvoyance, for example, where there's a lot of vision of things that they see, and then I think that the reason why it feels so out there is because when you're really tapped into, when you're really strong in these intuitive places, you, as a person who's intuitive, you really begin to trust that so deeply that you speak from that. And it seems a bit weird because we're talking from an energetic place or an energetic field, and I say we because it's people like me who do that. And so
Right,
I think to other people it's like, that's so weird, but it's not weird. It's just I think it's sometimes the language that's
right,
weird,
right,
because what you're saying is absolutely true. And anybody that's listening to this knows that, because they've been somewhere where they felt something and it wasn't spoken about, but they
right,
knew it, you know?
right. But a lot of people, they just, you know, like I said, I have spent a lot of time in my life in some issues where I've blocked out emotions. I've blocked out things because I didn't have the luxury to feel them, because people's lives depended on it. Basically, I needed to just get through what I needed to get through. And so there's been some hangover from that. And so I'm trying to, you know, get rid of that and feel things more deeply and understand things better. And so, you know, I'm almost 53, so I might actually figure out how to be a grown up and hear things and do things and feel things at some point. But
Feel
I
safe.
think, you know, yes, you know, and so that's why I love getting to know people like you who are able to put those things into words that I might be able to understand better. And maybe whoever it is that's watching this video, maybe it's one person or five people or 500 people, who knows, but somebody's going to learn this one critical thing, is that it really is real. And so let's see what we can learn today in 3 minutes.
Totally. Okay. So one of the ways in which I think it's really important, well, I'm going to take you through 4 steps. The way that you can learn this is through listening to other people. And when I say listening, I don't just mean like, oh, okay, I'm listening through my ears to the words that they're saying, but truly listening to understand. So, and because you'll start to recognize which ways you read people by really listening to understand, which means you have to literally close your mouth and let the other person speak, and not reply. That's number one, hands down, the
It's so
most
hard
important.
for me. Yes, I totally know what you're saying. The one mouth, two ears thing, you know, one mouth, but two ears. And that's been a hard thing for me to learn.
It's hard for everyone.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that we really want to fix people. So if somebody comes to us and they start talking to us and telling us things, and the more that you listen, the more people will tell you, the more they'll start to go deeper into how they're feeling or what's happening for them or the experience, or they might complain or might have all this stuff, which might be different from the way you communicate and the way you are. And you might want to go, stop doing that. Don't do that. Don't talk like that. Don't do that. And that's not helpful. That's not helpful to them. And it's not going to be helpful to you. So listening to understand is number one. The second, and this goes in order. So I practiced listening to understand for a really long time before I moved on to the next ones. But you can, in my course, we practice on a weekly basis. So we have a partner. We practice listening to understand week 1. Week 2, which is the next one, is called reflection. And reflection looks like this. I heard you say this. I heard you say that. I heard you say this. I heard you say that. And it's really like that. Sometimes people want to say, I heard you say this, and I relate to this because blah, 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 and they go into their own thing. It's like, no, it's I heard you say, I heard you say, I heard you say, I heard you say. It's a reflection. And the reason for that is because we're trying to, on a deeper way, understand the person and help them understand themselves. So it's two ways. It works both ways. And I'm also a partner too. So that means that I'm getting reflection back to me. So that's two. The third one is asking questions. And we ask questions to get a deeper, these are really simple, but it in this way works really well. Asking questions to even understand deeper and to help the other person understand themselves deeper. So we might have a question like, well, how did it make you feel when you did la, 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 la? Or, I mean, it can be anything. But also we're trusting what comes up inside of us too. So that's a lot of what I hear. I can hear really good questions for people. And when I hear a question, it'll literally like tap on me and be like, ask that question, ask that question, ask that question. I'm like, okay, I got it. I'll ask this question. So that's three. And then the fourth one is to tell a story about yourself that relates to the other person. So you're not telling the story to be like, oh, well, this happened in my life and look at me and this is what's happening for me. And like and I understand that you're doing that, but this is about me. It's not about you. It's about the person that's sitting in front of you. You're telling the story because you're helping them understand that you understand them. And when that happens, there's a relation that happens between two people. So there's a combination of what I'm teaching here. One is to find your unique voice inside of you. That's your expression, that's in alignment with who you are. And then on the other side of that, it's about learning to understand other people. And it's not what they're saying, it's the energy behind what they're saying. And that's really what you're reading.
We could talk about this for a very, very long time. I just know it. I think that you could help me a lot. And no, I understand that whole process, and it sounds so simple, but when you're in the middle of it, it's not so simple. So yeah, practicing it is really important. And I will say that I have been practicing more of all of those steps, but sometimes I forget to do that at home as much as I should. But now that we are at home all the time, I have a lot more opportunity for growth and improvement in that area. So I want to make sure people know how to find you, because I think that they can see that this is a really important topic and they probably could learn so much more personally. And so if they go to shaunalay.com,
yes,
and I will put that in the notes underneath this video so that people can get the spelling and everything. But it's SHAUNALAY.com. And right. Is there anything else, any other way that you would like for people to connect with you?
I mean, I'm definitely on social media, so you can find me on Instagram, and Instagram is at Shauna N. Lay, and then Facebook is, you can just find me through my name.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And also through my website, that's all linked. So
okay.
Even
if they go to the website, they can connect through all the other.
Yeah, and if you sign up for my email list, which there's many places to find that on my website, then you get regular mailings from me, and so you'll always know what's happening in my world, my business, my work.
All right, that's fabulous. So thank you so much. Is there any last thing you want to share before we drop off here?
I would say be really nice to yourself and really nice to other people right now, because everybody, especially in the place that we're in right now, is going through a lot of stuff. And I think being as nice as possible with your words is probably one of the most important things we can do, and letting people vent and just share what it is that's on their heart and their mind. And it's a really good time to practice listening to understand.
Right. Thank you for the reminder. Yes. All right. Thank you, Shauna. I love you.
I love you too.
Taking your time. I'm going to stop the recording.